Welcome to the art of living with a dog. I'm Tamara Tokash, a master dog expert with a fresh perspective in everyday wellness protocols, hacks, and products for both ends of the leash, stemming the tide so you and your dog can thrive. I've questioned the norms and connected the dots to forge a unique path that truly transforms how you and your free-spirited companion live. Let's get digging.
Tamara Tokash, the creator of Unleashed, has spent over 50 years observing, studying, and helping both ends of the leash find wellness together. So today, we're diving into the 8 foundational pillars that make up the art of living with a dog, the human side of the method.
So we're going to talk about the art of living with the dog, which encompasses and embodies the human part of it. And there's 8 different sections of it. I call them modules, elements. They're all interchangeable. And the first one I went over before, which is the blueprint that you're going to create for your dog, taking into consideration your dog's constitution, his strengths, his weaknesses, and also having for yourself really realistic expectations. Because while comparison is the thief of joy, expectations is the happiness killer. So that's element or module number 1 is you have to have a defined idea of what you want, how you want to start, what's realistic, and move forward with that way, taking into consideration the fundamentals of mind, body, spirit. So behavior, nutrition, and life skills. The second module is energy. And what I was saying earlier that we both touched upon is how our energy directly impacts our dog's energy. And you can go through all the different types of emotional states that we experience in the course of a day: happiness, anger, frustration, sadness, whatever it is. And we are the mirrors to our dogs. And so we have to be really aware of that. If we're crying, we have to realize that has a negative impact on our dogs. So we have to really learn to regulate ourselves and not be this, hyperbolic other species that lives with our dogs, and they're constantly feeling unsettled. So energy, the freedom just to not feel this need to constantly be micromanaging your dog, or to be doing something with your dog. There's a lot of importance and just need for a dog to just be. Dogs need to sleep a lot to recharge their battery. So freedom just to be. And also part of the energy, and this might sound like a little woohooey to some people, some viewers, and I'm just speaking from an adult's point of view. So there might be viewers on here that are teenagers, which is great. I'm so happy to have you, that you found my channel and you're taking time to listen to this, whether you have a dog, want a dog, or are a dog. It doesn't matter. But I don't want this to sound woohooey, but for older people, a lot of times we forget how to play. We lose touch with our inner child. And I'm not going to give, psychological advice here on how to get in touch with your inner child, but I will say most clients that I work with, they, for one reason or another, they rarely get on the floor. These are adults. They rarely get on the floor and play with their dog. Now, the kids in the family are doing it. It's just intuitive for the kids to do that. But dogs love that. Now, can that create some type of behavior that is a bit reactive, or they start chewing or nipping? Sure, especially if you have a younger dog. But everything is manageable if you know how to manage a situation, and you have that, and you exercise that awareness. But get in touch with your inner child, laugh, dance, play one of your favorite tunes, your favorite songs, and just dance. Nobody, it doesn't matter what you look like, your dog will make a dramatic shift. They will be happy. Are there some dogs, like herding dogs, guarding breeds, that will try to make you stop dancing? Yeah, well, then just maybe don't dance so, erratic. So there are different ways that you can um, manage and work with your own energy so that it brings out the best in your dog and in you. So that's the energy component. The third one is dog driven wellness. And what do I mean by that? It's always be thinking, how can I see the world through my dog's eyes? Because we see it differently. And sometimes I even have clients go as far as to get on the floor, like, get on the floor with their hands and knees and just look around the house and see what their dog's vantage point is, because it's much different than what ours is. And I think a lot of times we just take for granted that we have a dog, um, they have unconditional love, and they they're just here to serve us. And having a self-serving attitude never never works out for anyone. And they're only here for a certain amount of time, unfortunately. And this sacred contract that we are presented with, we have this opportunity to really develop and cherish this sacred contract. Is, again, it starts with the awareness. So the dog driven wellness is founded in the sacred contract that is there, that your dog offers, because they make us better people, and they deserve for us to return a lot of love and safety and trust and happiness and fun to them, and let them be a dog. We were saying about that before, dogs should bark within reason, not incessant barking, but they should bark. Dogs should dig. Dogs should chase. Dogs should sniff. I mean, these are all normal canine behaviors that over time, somehow, when the leash got introduced for us to walk dogs, everything was, they were subjugated as to all of these natural behaviors. And all of those behaviors are stress relievers. So then you can start to see this vicious cycle that happens. We have these dogs, we have unrealistic expectations, then you attach normal canine behavior, we shut them down, we suppress it, and then they get stressed. And then we wonder why the dog is nipping, growling, barking, peeing, destroying the house. It everything you can detective work. It's very easy. You can retrace the steps. So that's the third module. The fourth module is compassion. And I understand it can be frustrating when you have a dog. They're they might be soiling the house. They might have severe separation anxiety. Um, it might be a puppy. You may not have realized what comes with having a puppy. They might be tearing apart things in the house, kids' hands and feet. The kids are having meltdowns. And at the same time, look at it from the dog's point of view. The dog did not knock on your door and say, "Hey, I'm moving in." Somebody in the house actively, an adult actively went out and made the decision to get a dog. So the onus is on the adults in the family to take the appropriate course of action, to work with the dog, to exercise compassion. We talked about ego. The ego you have to let go of the ego. I mean, that's just edging a lot of things out that don't need to be there. Happiness, just part of compassion is to have happiness, and empathy, because it's one thing to have compassion, but if you can exercise empathy, where especially in a situation where a dog may have been rehomed, for a multitude of reasons, or a dog may have had a very negligent past, or a traumatized past. all of those things really require us as humans to use empathy to help them get to the next level and to feel safe and to um, bring them to a point where they really can thrive. Because I've seen dogs come from some of the most deplorable situations. Excuse me. And if it's approached, the situation is approached the right way, and empathy being one of them, they flourish. I've also seen dogs that come from stellar breeding background pedigrees, and they're nightmares. So it really does come back to the environment that your dog is in and the choices that you make, because we're a collection of our choices. And when we don't make good choices, short term and long term, we pay for it and our dogs pay for it. So that's the fourth one. I just need to take a quick water break. The fifth element of Unleashed on the human side and the art of living with the dog is curiosity. And I think this is of one of probably three of the other modules I haven't gotten to that's overlooked. And I find that with clients and just people in general, they they're just not really curious. They lack it for one reason, or they assume foolishly that this is just how it is. My mother, my father, I was raised like this. This is how they did it. The vet said to do it. My neighbor does it. The person on Instagram does it. And a healthy sense of curiosity is about, is your dog just surviving? Or do you want your dog to thrive? And we can say it for ourselves too, right? Like, this is a lot of what I created on this human part. If we omit the dog and we put in us or a human, it's going to make us better people. And the curiosity part, there are so many people just mindlessly walking around and saying, okay, I'll just grab the Hills Science Diet. I'll just get the Royal Canin. Okay, I have to go back every year for the annual vaccines, about 8 vaccines. Okay, I have to get my dog groomed. And they're not curious to question. You have to question status quo, because if you don't, you're just in this path of being a follower and you're not doing yourself any good. You're not evolving. You're not doing your dog any good. And you really are, um, you're missing out on so many of the beautiful experiences that you can have with your dog. So that's the curiosity. Self-educate, do a deep dive. If you read something, hear something, see something, when I say do a deep dive, research not once, not twice, thrice. Yeah, like that's just my rule of thumb. That's how I learn. That's how I study. That's how I experience everything. And I think when people are reading something, an article, or they're seeing something wherever, they just take it, whatever it is, the topic, for face value, and they jump on it, and they're not fact checking. Most of the time, these are opinions. There's no validity to it. They're not taking the dog's overall well-being into consideration. So the curiosity element is so critical. And part of the curiosity element is, how do you avoid conflict with your dog? And I'm actually writing an article for an online school that I am a contributor to, and it's about conflict, and it's about what are the ramifications of arguing in front of your dog or your animal, your cat, whatever, your kids, and I'm not proposing we live in this Pollyanna world where everything's perfect and we know no one has a crossword. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, when things start to get elevated, and at times that they can, you nip it in the bud, you take it outside, or you bring your dog into another place. There's many things you can do, but The dogs, they work in this world, primitive world and the modern world. It has never changed. They go through life and they avoid conflict. That is how they maneuver in the world. It may not appear that way, but that is at the top of a dog's list. How do I avoid conflict? So therefore, you have a dog that is potentially being put into conflicting situations, right? Where someone is accusing them of something, someone's pointing at them, someone's getting mad at them, someone's arguing around them. And then where does the onus fall? It always falls on the dog. And it's just not fair. So that part of it might not sound like it's a really good fit under the curiosity part, but these are all things. There has to be a contemplative type mindset when you have made the decision to get a dog into your house. And also, what's the other part of the curiosity is, what's your dog's potential, right? Like we were saying before, you can't expect a Saint Bernard or a Newfie to be hiking for 3 hours, 4 hours, where you could take a lab with you, or whatever. You could take different dogs with you that are more suited, that are more bred and physically designed, selectively bred to do those types of things. So that's the curiosity part. The third to last element is, how do you connect with your dog? And we did talk about it briefly, but I'll say it again, is eye contact. We can listen to our dogs. We think we have all the answers, but the truth is our dog or dogs have most of the answers. We just have to hit the pause button and listen to them. So listening, a gentle touch, um, anything in between. There can be like little massages that are offered for the dog. So you could do things like that. The smile, we talked about the smile therapy. That was another mini course or a mini theory that I've come up with just smile therapy. It's a release of oxytocin. It helps the dogs. It helps us. And it's the feel good hormone. So you've got the connecting part of it. The last two are, I would say, lacking the most across the board in anything, but particularly when people have dogs, and it's critical thinking. So the critical thinking element of the art of living with a dog, it assumes, first of all, you have to be a self thinker. You have to be questioning the status quo, question authority. If a vet tells you your dog needs all of those vaccines, you have to question, but do they really need those vaccines? And then go back to the other module that I mentioned before, curiosity, do a deep dive, do some research. I can tell you they don't need all these vaccines without going into a whole vaccine topic. So you use critical thinking for that. The same thing applies to food and nutrition. The same thing applies to, and let me just caveat, one of the leading causes of disease or disease and chronic disease and behavior problems and early death is the food. The big box food companies don't want you to know that. The veterinarians don't know that. And this is not anything against the vets. It's just they're not trained in it. They're not trained in nutrition. They don't even have a few hours under their belt in nutrition. And then you have people that are putting trust in, or dog owners that are putting trust in their vets. They're taking their advice, and nutrition does not become a topic of conversation in a vet appointment until there's a problem. Then nutrition is brought up. So the critical thinking is, assume competence also for your dog. I find that a lot of people, they don't believe enough in their dog. They don't realize the amount of full-blown potential that the dog that's they're living in the house with has. And they hold them back, and they may hold them back for a variety of reasons, but assume competence. If you're struggling with something, or I should say, if your dog and you are struggling with something, it goes back to the energy module, which is if you believe in your dog, if you assume that they are competent, and they are, that energy, it goes right to your dog and they pick up on it, and you move forward. So that's the critical thinking part, in addition to um looking at it from your dog's point, your dog's point of view. And this isn't necessarily critical thinking, but I can't drive home the importance of using common sense and logic in everything that has to do with not just your own life, but in your dog's life. So again, defer to nature, defer to common sense. And then the last one of the modules in the human part is courage. And so what do I mean by courage? I mean, we describe a lot of different people and um, acts in the sense of being courageous or using or having courage. Um, we need, our role as their guardian is we need to be their healthcare advocate. We need to be their voice. They don't have a voice. Um, if a vet or a groomer or a trainer or whoever is saying to you, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and it just doesn't sit right, um, you need to have the courage to speak up and say, I don't think so, or thanks, but no thanks, whatever it might be, because if you're not going to do it, no one's going to do it. And the, you know, giving yourself that permission to step out of the box of, well, everybody else is doing whatever, everybody else is feeding blue buffalo. Gosh, I think that's the best food out there. Everybody must, no one, no one could be wrong here. Take the, have, step out of that conformist mentality and have the courage to see what else you could find for your dog, whether it's food, whether it's a different trainer, whether it's a trainer um that utilizes modern day, up to date, practical tactics and strategies. You don't want to be with somebody that is telling, they're trying to teach you different dog training approaches, but they haven't moved away from the training approaches from 1975. So that's where the courage the courage part of it comes in. So um, that's the human part of it. I hope that I broke it down in a way that people can, make sense to everybody. I'm not coming at this saying everyone needs to apply all 8 modules from the dog side and from the human side, and it has to be perfect. Again, because that's ridiculous. That's not my intention. My intention is, if somebody just hears one little snippet of it, smile at your dog, make eye contact with your dog, dance with your dog, whatever it might be. Look at the world through your dog's eyes. Question the status quo. If they just take one, I have no doubt that it will make a world of difference. And I have I have personally experienced with my dogs and with all my clients' dogs that have implemented this method. They really truly do. They look at their dogs completely different after they've gone through a program. This is the thing, people put all this money into the dog training part of it. And because, there's a new tree to bark up, that's just kind of, how I see it, that you can teach an old dog new tricks. It's not really about teaching, but it is about learning. And um, once you create this really solid foundation based on cultivating a relationship with the dog that or dogs that you share your life with, then everything else, it's it's like magic. It just, and I'm not saying there's a magic bullet for anything, because I don't want it to come across like I'm trying to sell snake oil or something crazy like that. What I am saying is, though, everything else that the people are paying tons of money and they're getting frustrated and their dogs are getting stressed and confused and agitated, everything else, for the most part, with the exception if there is a severe issue, health, medical, behavioral, physical condition, everything else just flows. And it goes back to the compound effect, which is you make one tiny change and it has a very profound effect overall. And these are little habits. And I don't know if people, the audience, have read Atomic Habits, any of these types of books. There is something to it where habits take time. You have to have a clear vision. You have to write things down. You have to have awareness. You have to execute. You can't just like imagine everything and then just wishfully think, like, because hope is not a plan. You have to actually do the work. But you have to have time. People will say to me, "Oh, wow, your dogs are so well behaved." Now, I do have dogs in general that are just very even keel dogs, but I also intentionally seek even keel dogs because my nature is not to bring in, like, a high octane dog that I just don't think would be a good fit. But then you get an even keel dog that does fit with you, because there are people that a high octane dog does work in their life. And then, but you have the dogs that you bring in, and if they are a good match, just on at the base level, you do have to put the time in. It's like anything. If you want something to flourish, you have to work at it. The dog side, you'll see they're very similar, the modules, and the viewers will see they're very similar. But again, it's the other end of that leash that once people have that working knowledge of, oh, I didn't realize that's how dogs actually extrapolate information. I didn't realize that the toxins that are on the lawn or on my dog are actually impacting their behavior. I didn't realize the food is impacting negatively their behavior, and their body. There's so much. So once that part is done, I think together it will really be refreshing for viewers to hear.
That wraps up today's dive into the art of living with the dog on the human side. These 8 pillars are more than just concepts. They're invitations to become more present, more connected, and more compassionate, not just with our dogs, but with ourselves. You can find the entire Unleashed Masterclass on Tamara's site, and it will soon be available in a recorded version at a lower price point. We will let you know when that goes live. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss what's coming next. If you'd like to go deeper and be part of the conversation, you can join Tamara's Patreon community, where we'll be hosting live Q&A sessions. We welcome you to join us to ask your most burning questions, share stories, and to connect with other dog lovers on this journey. You'll find the link below in our description, along with the link to Tamara's book, Blessed, and to her website, if you'd like to work with her directly or to learn more. In the next episode, we're going to explore the dog side of Unleashed, the anatomy of a happy dog, and how we can support our 4-legged companions on a whole new level. Until next time, trust your instincts, listen with your heart, and stay connected to those you love the most.